Tonight, we check in with the poor man's Greg Gutfeld, George Clooney. Remember, he wrote a scathing op-ed prior to the election calling on Joe Biden to drop out? And this week, he took to CNN, the only place he's seen less than in his own movies, to gloat. God, I hope Jake Tapper doesn't plant his lips firmly on George's puckered ass.
George Clooney stepped into politics with confidence, espresso in hand, a smug smile to match. But things flipped fast when Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly fired back hard. One moment he was speaking from his mansion, the next he was getting shut down completely. What did he say to spark it? This wasn't just a bait. It was ego versus reality, and Clooney didn't see it coming.
What's the matter, George? Are the Hollywood roles getting a little hard to come by as you age and get decidedly more smug and self-congratulatory? I'm just asking. And chooses to finish this show by lecturing the audience on how journalism ought to be done. Speaking as Edward R. Murrow, he warns about the ongoing struggle for truth and integrity in the media. Truth and integrity. About the potential for the media to be manipulated and used for propaganda.
George Clooney looked at rising costs and chaos and decided what America needed was another millionaire's lecture. Dressed sharp, espresso in hand. Speaking from luxury, he told everyday people how to vote. The contrast? Hard to miss. For many, it didn't feel like unity. It felt out of touch. Intro 3. George Clooney tried to shift from Hollywood star to political voice, but not everyone was buying it. What was meant to sound thoughtful quickly backfired. Critics like Greg Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly pushed back hard, turning the moment into a sharp clash over credibility. And Clooney found himself on the defensive.
Was a civic duty. When I saw people on my side of the street not telling the truth, I thought that was time to...
Are people still mad at you for that?
Some people, sure.
Wow, if that's Clooney with makeup. Imagine what he looks like without it, huh?
They took the stage and turned it into a self-reflection session, talking about their craft and how flawed the media is. Then came the big claim. Journalists exist to hold truth to power. But instead of clarity, it raised a bigger question. Are they informing people or quietly shaping what they think?
So she and George get together and they start navel gazing on stage about themselves, of course, and their vaunted profession and how bad, how just terrible the media is, and had the following exchange.
What we do in this is we talk about the responsibility of journalists to hold truth to power. Right? That's our goal. And so if you're doing that, and we don't tell people what to think when we show that montage.
In Clooney's mind, it played like a perfect script, him as a wise voice guiding the nation. Reality hit different. Greg Gutfeld mocked it. Megyn Kelly pushed back hard, and the moment quickly turned from inspiration to backlash.
Remember, Clooney's the same guy who held a star-studded fundraiser for Joe weeks before he dropped out and only called for him to quit after his disastrous debate. Clooney ignored concerns over Biden's age for years, only to magically come to the conclusion that he was demented when America finally saw what Clooney had been hiding. That's the problem with Dems. They're obedient shills for awful people, then pretend otherwise once voters see that they're full. But remember, we were pointing out Joe's dementia before it was cool. We knew Biden was the worst president ever, which probably means Jimmy Carter died a happy man.
Greg Gutfeld didn't take Clooney seriously for a second. To him, it sounded polished, but empty. He mocked the speech as overblown and out of touch, pointing to the gap between celebrity lifestyle and real-world issues. The message was simple. Big words don't mean much if they don't match reality, and that's where the image started to crack.
Two nuggets are breaking. Tara Palmieri, who's got her own Substack and podcast now, she's been on the show, she got a copy and released a couple of the nuggets, and so did The Guardian. But hers was a really interesting nugget. And she's apparently in this book, they reveal that George Clooney saw Morning Joe one day, right after his op-ed, and Mika Brzezinski was suggesting that Barack Obama was behind the George Clooney op-ed. That was basically making Clooney seem like Obama's puppet.
Yeah.
In Gutfeld's view, Clooney came off like someone giving big political opinions without real grounding. He mocked it as flashy talk that sounds good but solves nothing, highlighting how disconnected it felt from everyday reality. Then Megyn Kelly took a different approach, calm, sharp, and methodical. While Gutfeld joked, she broke it down piece by piece, questioning credibility and calling it out as more performance than substance.
I bet there's one person in particular he thinks is spectacular.
There's one person in particular I think is spectacular. There are a few who I think is levitating above that is Westmore. I like him a lot. I think he could be someone we could all join in behind. We have to find somebody rather soon. It's our job now to put together a proper team to stand up because we're right now polling very poorly.
I love that. Levitating above, as opposed to sinking to the bottom, like his last movie.
Megyn Kelly broke down Clooney's message with a calm, sharp edge, pointing out the gap between what he says and how he lives. To her, it wasn't insight, it was image. She challenged the idea that fame equals authority, seeing not a voice of truth, but a polished performance, and she wasn't convinced.
He is going on, this is to 60 last night, about, you mentioned his op-ed in the New York Times on Joe Biden, and why he did it. Such a selfless, brave act, Ben. Here he was.
I was raised to tell the truth. I had seen the president up close for this fundraiser, and I was surprised. And so I feel as if there was a lot of profiles in cowardice in my party through all of that.
Oh, wow.
And I was not proud of that. And I also believed I had to tell the truth.
That fundraiser where he saw Biden almost falling off the stage, where Obama came out to grab him, was June 15th. The debate was June 27th. It wasn't until July 10th, almost a month after he attended the fundraiser with him, that George Clooney finally wrote that op-ed after it became clear that Joe Biden wasn't stepping down. He's such a...
While Clooney projected confidence, Megyn Kelly stayed grounded, challenging not the man, but the idea that fame equals authority. Her calm, precise critique cut through the image and resonated widely. Meanwhile, Gutfeld's sharp jokes went viral, turning the moment into a social media storm. The internet split fast, but one thing was clear. The conversation had shifted, and people were paying attention.
But in this new world of common sense, what does he align with? He might have way more in common with Trump than he is with the progressives. The question is, does he have the bravery to say that? I have no idea where he stands on the border, sanctuary cities, or trans extremism. How does he feel about the fires in LA? Mm-hmm. Is he happy with how it was handled by Mayor what's-her-face and Governor who's his name?
Megyn Kelly broke down Clooney's comments point by point, mixing sharp analysis with a dry, no-nonsense tone. She challenged his claims about media, democracy, and political bias, backing her points with data and real-world trends in public trust. Her message was clear. Disagreement isn't the problem. Oversimplification is. And while the debate got heated online, her calm, fact-driven approach stood out as a defining moment of the exchange.
Roberts, who outed herself not only as a leftist, which we knew, but as somebody who, and by the way, she's also a husband stealer. She stole the husband that she has right now in a reported affair. So, okay, maybe don't be the voice of the ad in which we talk about women betraying their husbands, because in the leftist view, marriages are not about honesty and talking about one's differences and agreeing to disagree on certain dicey issues, but they're about lying. And they believe this so strongly, you put it in an ad. And her pal, George Clooney, who did something similar for another ad, same. You got Joe Biden out. How'd it work out for you? How'd that go? Maybe you should have said something a little...
But it got better. Much better. With surgical precision, Megyn Kelly spotlighted Clooney.
Megyn Kelly dug deeper, pointing out what she saw as contradictions in Clooney's public messaging. She highlighted the gap between his advocacy and his lifestyle, questioning how consistent his positions really are. Her bigger critique wasn't just about him. It was about Hollywood's influence in political discourse. Why? She asked, are actors often treated like authority figures on complex global issues?
About cowardice. He waited a long time, but he should have the guts to maybe say that his friends in Hollywood, like John Voight or Mel Gibson or Sylvester Stallone, who shared a risk, might have been right on a few things. He's starring in Glengarry Glen Ross. Am I right?
No, it's Good Night and Good Luck.
Oh,
sorry,
never mind.
My fault.
I was going to say, I mean, they have tremendous respect for David Mamet. David Mamet is one of the most conservative people. So maybe instead of just sitting in silence, you should actually speak up for some of the people who shared the risk. And
Megyn Kelly delivered what many saw as the strongest critique of Clooney's political image. She framed it not as leadership, but performance, carefully packaged activism aimed at applause rather than real impact. Her point was blunt. Celebrity activism often looks powerful, but rarely carries real-world stakes. From luxury stages and award show speeches, she argued it becomes more about image than change. By the end, the takeaway was simple. Kelly didn't shout or overplay it. She calmly exposed what she saw as contradiction, and in doing so, turned Clooney's political persona into a broader debate about fame, influence, and credibility.
I think, there's Johnny come lately, I was raised to be honest, is a bunch of BS. All right. Obama told him to do it. He sees himself as this extremely important person. I think he's an arrogant, condescending, smug individual who thinks that, he should be able to tell people in America and the Democrat Party, certainly, what they should and shouldn't do. This president, Joe Biden, is one of the most disastrous presidents that we've had.
Clooney tried to step into the role of political thinker, but the reaction quickly turned him into the punchline. Gutfeld and Kelly pushed back hard, framing the moment as another example of celebrity overreach. Their message wasn't just about him. It was about Hollywood's habit of treating fame as authority. In the end, what Clooney expected to be influence became a cautionary example of how quickly public perception can flip when image meets criticism.